I feel like I've made this exact video at least 20 times in the past couple of months, but the truth is I haven't. It's just that the Dallas Mavericks continue to either be the unluckiest franchise of all time or just make the stupidest decisions. And unfortunately, this video has a little bit of both. Obviously, the big elephant in the room here isn't a Luka trade, it isn't Anthony Davis going down, but it's Kyrie Irving unfortunately ending his season with a torn ACL. Now, obviously, I want to make it clear that this is terrible. You never want to see that, on any player whatsoever, but let alone a guy like Kyrie Irving, such a legendary player who's unfortunately getting older, 32 years old, something that we're going to dive into a little bit later on in the video. It's obviously terrible, but I think another very under talked about part, or something that not many people are going to take into consideration, is that with Kyrie Irving being down and whether or not we're going to get to see AD and Kyrie actually step onto the court together as Dallas Mavericks teammates, there's a chance that we don't get to see what Nico Harrison was even trying to do. Now, let me make it very clear. I do not agree with Nico Harrison's move to trade Luka Doncic or, do whatever the fuck he did to this roster. But I was one of the people who, if you're going to make this move, if you think that this is the best trajectory and decision for your franchise, I want to see how it plays out. I want to see how
Anthony Davis
and Kyrie are going to play alongside each other, and Derek Lively, his development that he has. I wanted to see that. But unfortunately, there is a pretty big chance that we never see these two step onto the floor together, and therefore we will never see, what Nico Harrison and the Dallas Mavericks were actually thinking could possibly happen, or what it could be like with their short-term championship window. And the reason why I think that Kyrie Irving, he might not be back in a Dallas Mavericks uniform anymore, that could have been his last game with the team, is because, ladies and gentlemen, he's a free agent. He has a player option next year, and after that, he can do whatever the fuck you want. He might decline the player option. It was expected that he was going to decline anyways and just re-sign with the Mavericks for more money. If you're Kyrie Irving, there's really two sides to this. If you're Kyrie Irving, why would you go back to Dallas? Unless you really do believe that you and Anthony Davis can make something happen. You're getting old. You're 33 years old by the time you have the player option. Do you want to basically commit to Dallas being your last team for your career? Do you want to commit? That's a big commitment for a guy like him who may just want to go out and win another championship. Maybe that won't happen with AD. He might get injured again. So that's one of the big decisions, right? He can either deny or choose to stay with Dallas. But if you're the Dallas Mavericks, knowing how skeptical they are when it comes to players and injuries and maybe, not being a long-term, option, do you look at a 33-year-old Kyrie Irving coming off of an ACL tear, and do you give him hundreds of millions of dollars? Do you give him the big contract that he wants? Or do you maybe just chalk it up and say, shit, I guess that's it. I guess we got to start the rebuild a little bit early because injuries hit us out of nowhere. It's something that I would assume they would re-sign Kyrie Irving. I'm assuming that they would take him back and say, you know what, let's run it back. AD is looking good. We think that a Kyrie Irving who is coming off of an ACL tear can still perform great. But you're going to be paying him until, what, 36 years old, 37 years old, 38? I don't know, however long it is. Once again, that's kind of like what I was saying before. You are committing to having Kyrie Irving on your team for the rest of his career, and it's not just Kyrie Irving, it's a small guard who relies on explosion and a bunch of other things, but mainly his explosion and speed, but he's also coming off of an ACL tear. So it's a very interesting situation in that aspect, where it's just another one of those, what is Nico Harrison, what are the Dallas Mavericks going to do? I do hate, though, how this is going to be taken as well, look, you shouldn't have, traded Luka Doncic, you shouldn't have, because it's somewhat true. I do genuinely believe if the Mavericks still had Luka, this injury may not have happened. Obviously, the injury itself is a bit of a freak accident, but in the last couple of weeks, as soon as the Dallas Mavericks traded Luka, Kyrie was the most used player in the NBA. He had the most minutes. He was getting the most offensive run because the Dallas Mavericks were like, hey, you are going to run the show on offense, especially with AD being out. It is the Kyrie Irving show. And once again, I probably said it a million times in this video, it's a 32-year-old Kyrie Irving who is running the show and playing the most minutes. So the wear and tear that you're putting on your body, if you're Kyrie Irving, I do believe it may have not been, a torn ACL, but at some point, all the wear and tear that you're putting on your body, something was bound to happen. There's this tweet by Underdog NBA that goes over the Dallas Mavericks in 2025, and I feel like we just got to go through some of the shit here because it's it's a little bit depressing. Derek Lively suffers an ankle stress fracture. I thought, I'm not even kidding, I thought this was going to be the worst part of the Dallas Mavericks season. Because of how much I love Derek Lively and how much he did for Luka Doncic when they were playing together, I was like, this is the biggest blow. Derek Lively is so much fun to watch. He's a young developing player. You never want to see an injury like that. But then right after, Luka Doncic gets traded. We don't have to go through that. Anthony Davis suffers his injury in his first game, not even being able to play a full game with his new team. Then Daniel Gafford suffers a sprained MCL. Quentin Grimes, as we all know, is a former Dallas Maverick, scored 44 points. Jalen Brunson named Player of the Week. Okay, some of these things are just like actually hammering on the Dallas Mavericks. Like they have no control over the Lakers. Okay, well they do because they gave him Luka. They gave him Luka. Yeah, sorry. The Mavs announced season ticket price increase, and then Kyrie Irving tears his ACL. Dallas Mavericks fans, I am sorry. I'm very sorry. As someone who is also a fan of a poverty franchise that charges too much for tickets, I do think that them raising the price for the fucking season tickets is actually insane. And I'm not trying to put on the conspiracy hat here. Okay, I'm not trying to be that guy that says, oh, you know, hey, maybe this is something. But hear me out. There's been the rumors of, you know, Dallas going to Las Vegas, you know, moving the franchise over, whatever. They already did enough dividing their franchise and their fan base by trading Luka. What is something that would cause there to be even more divide, even more people saying, I'm not a fan of this franchise anymore? It would be raising the season ticket prices. After trading Luka, are you kidding me? I've seen so many people cancel their season tickets, like cancel everything to do with the Dallas Mavericks because of how they've behaved this year, that if you get all your fans to turn on your own franchise and hate the shit out of your franchise, chances are they won't really care much when you end up moving them to Las Vegas. I'm just saying, okay? I'm just saying. That's the only conspiracy I have. But tell me it's not kind of a good conspiracy there, okay? As we saw in this tweet as well, the Dallas Mavericks haven't had any bigs since AD went down and Daniel Gafford was out. They had Kessler Edwards running their 5. Yeah, it's not a good look. But if there's anything that could make it worse, I feel like the nightmare in the NBA, if you're any, GM or franchise, is the OKC Thunder suddenly owning your pick. Like out of nowhere, you remember that 5 years ago you gave it to them in some doofus ass trade. And well, it's not necessarily like directly in the future. Like it's not like the OKC Thunder owned their 2024 or 2025 pick, but they do have the rights to swap in 2028, which is around the time that you might not have Kyrie Irving and you also might not have Anthony Davis. So that's not a good look. So I had to tell you right now, if I was, face to face with Nico Harrison or the Dallas Mavericks management, I actually don't know what my next move would be. I want to say that I would just try to rebuild. Like, is that bad for me to say that I would just want to blow it up? Clearly, your fans don't fuck with anything that you got going on. They don't care about any of this situation. As much as they loved AD in his first game, you're not going to really win anything under him unless you do get Kyrie Irving and AD fully healthy for a postseason run. So maybe you give it, like, your small window. Like, you give it your 2-year chance, your 2-year shot. You try to re-sign Kyrie, but you don't want to give him too much money. All this bullshit, bro. This team is so fucked. But I really do feel like their best option would just be rebuilding. Try to find your generational talent that works as hard as Shaquille O'Neal does, since that's all Nico Harrison and the Mavericks management really base their judgments off of, is how hard the players work. Draft some American talent that does not smoke the hookah, does not drink the beers, and, works hard, gets in the gym every day, because that might be the only thing Dallas Mavericks management actually likes and would want on their roster. Doesn't matter how many points you score, doesn't matter how generational you are. If you're none of those things, you're not getting on the team anymore. That being said, hopefully you guys all enjoyed. Be sure to go down in the comments and comment down your opinions on this Dallas Mavericks franchise. I read and respond to everyone, and while you're down there, if you can hit the like and subscribe button, that would help out the channel a ton. Prayers up for Kyrie Irving. Hopefully we see him back on the court very soon. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.